Backstage, Rockin' the Range 2018. I'm Lou Brutus, Tyler Bryant, and Graham Whitford from
Hello.
Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown are my guest. Got it on the first take. How y'all did? You guys were supposed to have done this before and it didn't happen.
I think so. That happened with a couple of festivals, and you know, it's one of those things where, you know, as a touring, hardworking, blue-collar rock and roll band, you try to book as many gigs as you can, and we were fortunate enough to get a call from ACDC to go on tour with them, and so that caused us to cancel a bunch of gigs because as a hardworking blue-collar rock and roll band, you never say no to open up for ACDC. And so we ended up doing the whole Rocker Bus World Tour in 2016, and we missed a lot of festivals, and we missed out on a lot of opportunities to meet people like yourself, and I know because this has been scheduled like 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times we were supposed to meet and hang out before, yeah.
And so the ACDC tour turned into a Guns N' Roses tour, and we kept repeating the same steps of, all right, well, we don't have anything going on, let's book some festivals, and then we'd end up going to Singapore, or, you know, so we've kind of been all over the world, but here we are at Rock on the Range, kicked off the main stage today. It was good fun.
You know, I have the same problem a lot. Like I'm supposed to like walk the dog, and then I say, "Oh, I have to go on the road with ACDC, hun." So, boy, what a rough life that is.
Yeah.
What I mean, what was it about you guys that attracted your band to guys like ACDC or to Axl Rose?
Well, I don't necessarily know. It was with ACDC. We were on tour, opening acoustic for Billy Gibbons.
Yeah.
I do that when I play acoustic. That's the symbol for acoustic. And we got a phone call from our manager that said, in a few days, there might be an opportunity to support ACDC. And we're like, well, we're on tour with Billy Gibbons. And he goes, but the opportunity could lead to the whole American tour. And so then I talked to Billy, and I told him the situation, and we made arrangements to get to the Tacoma Dome to play with ACDC, and they said, you got 3 shows. If Angus likes you, you can do the rest of America. And we ended up going all over the world with them. So I don't know how it happens. This is a band that just, we work really hard. We play every chance we get, and we try to be nice to people, and we've earned really, really good fans. Like, we have fans all over the place that are just good rock and roll loving, you know, people from all ages. You know, that's the cool thing about rock and roll and a festival like this is you have people from all different demographics, you know, from the, you know, the youth to the older people, the hip and the hipless, you know, per se. So so the thing with the Guns N' Roses, Axl said his first show with ACDC, because we were there for the last 10 with Brian Johnson. So we were there when it was like, hey, this tour is stopping. Brian Johnson is not with ACDC, and ACDC is not with Brian Johnson. And we're like, what? You know?
What? Yeah.
Exactly. That was weird. And then Axl Rose proved that he is one of the boldest men in rock and roll. And the first show was in Lisbon, Portugal. And according to him, he got out of his car, probably like a limousine of some sort, because he's Axl Rose.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I heard you guys, and I thought, no, it's nice to have an opening band I don't have to ignore. And so then we met him in London, and it was like, how would you like to come do some shows with my band? And we were like, Guns N' Roses? So the rest is history.
You know, I'm going to guess part of the reason is, and not just with Guns N' Roses and ACDC, but also Billy Gibbons, who is just such a tremendous guitar player. I think you guys get a lot of your bass sound from the same places those guys did before you guys were even born, which is out of country, which is out of early rock and roll, which is certainly out of the blues more than anything else. Did they ever say that out loud to you, or we're just guessing about this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Billy has burned me like CDs. He's like, no, this is the CD you need. And it's like Jimmy Reed and Lightning Hopkins and Elmore James. And, you know, that's the stuff that he and I both cut our teeth on. So, yeah, I mean, and that's the same thing with Angus. Angus is like a Chuck Berry guy.
Yeah.
And I was just telling someone else in a different interview that, like, that was also one of the trigger songs for me. I think Graham and I were very fortunate in the fact that we were exposed to that blues, early rock and roll. You know what I mean? Even our bass player, like, some of the first music he ever remembers hearing was like La Bamba, you know, which, like, in the 50s, the rock and roll, the thing was like, it was fresh and it was happening for the first time. And you know, and then the blues before that inspired it. We kind of like studied all of that before we got to rock on the Range, you know, where the rock and roll has progressed so far. But, you know, and we've talked about this with other friends of ours who are in bands. It's like, it's so important to keep the roll with the rock, which the roll is the blues. That's the soul. That's all that stuff.
Well, you know, talking to Billy Gibbons, not only is he one of the great guitar players on the planet, he was a DJ back in the day, in the early days, playing early rock and roll stuff, playing blues stuff from Mexican radio stations for people in the United States. And he knew all of those old blues guys. Now, did he ever sit you down and start telling stories about these cats from 40, 50, 60 years ago?
No, he hasn't told me a ton of stories. I mean, he has. He's told me a ton of stories, but it's never been like blues history lessons. He's like, our relationship is a very fun and exciting relationship because you never know what you're going to get out of the Reverend, you know? Like, we were in Austin one day and I get a text, it's BFG. And it's like, all right, hey man, what's up? Meet me at these coordinates at noon on the hour. And you're just like, hey, we got some points of latitude and longitude that we're supposed to meet Billy Gibbons at noon on the hour, you know? And so then, like, Graham and I go down and we're at this guitar shop and he goes, these guitars, we're all leaving with our favorites. And he bought Graham and I these resonator guitars, which are predominantly used for blues music. And we sat there and jammed, and we talked about like Muddy Waters and slide guitar and all that stuff then, you know, but that guy's an encyclopedia. Yeah. He's a genius. So.
Well, listen, it's nice to finally meet you. Congratulations on everything. What's going to come up the rest of the year? You know, Graham, you're wearing a Blackberry Smoke shirt. Was that one of those deals where I'm on the road, I have no clean clothes, I better go to merch and get something to wear?
I almost wore that shirt today, too.
This was, we did 2 dates in Athens, Georgia, at the Georgia Theater, and this is like a one-off shirt from those 2 shows. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I definitely was running low on clothes, and I might have worn this. But, man, what a great band, and what a fun tour.
They're phenomenal, and again, it's a tribute to you guys that you can play a hard rock festival like this. You can go out with Guns N' Roses, you can go out with ACDC, you can go out with Billy Gibbons and fit in anywhere. And I guess you can tailor your set to whomever you're playing for to a degree.
That's kind of what I was talking about rock and roll from the different demographics, you know, because I think when you get to the heart of it, like this band has toured with Black Label Society and Zakk Wylde and ACDC and Billy Gibbons, and we've done shows with like Buddy Guy, and you know, I really don't, like, we don't worry about it. And sure, we may be like the least like metal band on this festival, but the kids out there just want to rock and roll, you know, and you can feel it when you go out there. Like, people want to put their fists up in the air and have a good time, and that's what we're about. And I think it's less about the genre, and like, you know, I always get so frustrated by like hot AC and active rock. Like, dude, shut up. It's rock music. It's rock and roll. If it makes the kids have fun, then they're doing it right, you know? So, I don't know. I'm done.
Well, good stuff. Great to meet you finally. By the way, Buddy Guy's new album, The Blues Is Alive and Well, is fucking awesome.
I can't wait to hear.
Tyler and Graham, Tyler Bryant and The Shakedown, Rock on the Range 2018.